Hi, Ian Datey here. Today I want to talk about a revenue leap through using effective lead generation techniques, which I find a lot of companies don't have. Do you have a lot of your business riding on one or two large accounts? Now, you don't need an effective lead generation, but is this an issue that you've got? At one time, I had a company that had two large accounts, and these two accounts were about 70% of my total revenues. Now, as you know, the old saying is you have all of your eggs in one basket, then you better watch that basket very carefully. Well, I thought I did that. So I thought. Anyway, I had a close relationship with the user VP, who is quite an important person in that particular business. And the salesperson looking after the account on a day-to-day basis was working, as I say, day-to-day with the VP's direct report. So we thought we had the account covered. What we didn't know was that a competitor was also talking to the VP and undercutting our fee structure. It turns out that this competitor was also talking to the purchasing people about how much money he could save my client with his service versus my company's service. I ended up losing that account. I won't go through all the details, even though I thought I was on top of the situation. What it turned out was this competitor was actually lying to the VP about what he could do. But for some reason, it was working. For some reason, the VP and these purchasing people believed him. Now, how do I know that he was lying? Well, because I did have a relatively good relationship, I thought, with the VP, so I did keep in touch with him. And he told me that about 6 months later. He said to me, "You told me so." Anyway, what happened was I asked him why he didn't throw them out. He gave me some lame excuse, and I lost that very large account. And so what I want to talk to you today is if you've got all your eggs in one basket or in one or two or three accounts, then you need to have a lead generation system that'll help you lower that risk that you have by having those three accounts or one account, whatever it is. And I tell you this story because I did not have a very good lead generation in place at the time. So I want to make sure that you do. I relied too heavily on this large account, plus my other large account. I realized then that if I wanted to not only grow, but at this point even stay in business after losing that account, I had better get a system in place to develop new business. It seems this phenomena is still very much in place today. People are having trouble getting new business. And of course, with all the recession going on and everything else going on today worldwide, it's even more critical that you do this. And the more I talk to B2B companies, the more I hear that their biggest issue is generating new revenue and getting what I like to call a revenue leap. If you want to generate new revenue and get a revenue leap, then please listen on. The biggest reason they have for being unable to get a revenue leap is they have trouble getting leads. And their second biggest issue is qualifying those leads in developing new accounts. So to see what's going on in the world, I typed B2B lead generation companies, that phrase, into Google to see what some of the companies on the first page had to offer. Do you know there are 150 million pages on that term alone? Seems like a good business to be in. Anyway, that's the business I want to help you with. I found that none of them offered any real lead generation or help. These are the companies that are on the first page. They all basically offered ways to qualify big companies once you handed them the lead. So they weren't going to help you get the lead except in a couple of ways. And this lead needed to be a very high-ranking executive in that company. Granted, it can be difficult to get to the executive if you don't have the right value proposition, but they weren't even going to help you develop that value proposition. I'm sure they're going to charge you a lot of money just to set up an appointment for you. And basically, that's what they were going to do. Give us the lead, give us the executive, and we'll set up an appointment for you. And all of them recommended buying lists from a list broker or using some kind of demand generation technique, which are, in today's internet-connected world, over 80% of companies look for you as opposed to waiting for you to contact them. So demand lead generation is going a little bit by the wayside. I still think it can be used, but 80% of companies now are connecting with you, are finding you first through a Google search, basically. And this number, I believe, will get closer to 100% in the near future, in the next 2 to 4 years. I'm finding that companies are really having trouble just getting the lead. Not who to contact. They probably know that. So what do you have to do? However, getting leads can be done easily, quickly, and very effectively if your company's having trouble getting leads and opening new accounts, then obviously you're halfway through the video. but please watch the rest of it. There are a number of elements that you must have in place in order to bring good leads to your business. The very first thing you have to do is decide who your ideal client is, and then develop a profile of that ideal client. And too many people don't do this. What the best way now on the internet is you have an avatar and develop who that avatar is as your ideal client. The most effective lead generation method is by referrals from either your current clients or others who know your business well. That's been the way for years, and it still is. If you can get referrals from mostly your current clients, but other people who know your business, then that's still the best way to get business. However, I've found that very few companies have a formal referral process in place. They don't take advantage of this best practice. Do you? You need a formal referral practice in place that permeates your company. Otherwise, your salespeople and marketers will not use it effectively. If they use it at all, they'll use it sporadically and every once in a while, but it needs to be a system that permeates your company. Do you have a formal referral system in place for your company? And I want to stress the word system, because a system then, and this is what I'm going to stress here, will then permeate your company, and it gets done all the time. If not, you need one. Plus the other two factors I want to talk about now. Next to referrals, there are two major factors that will decide how effective your lead generation will be and whether you're going to get this revenue leap or not. These two major factors are your website and your advertising. Your website needs to be your most effective marketing and communication tool. You need to have a website that does three major things. It must draw people to it, engage them to stay, and you need a method to get them to give you their contact information. Okay, you got to find a way that people are going to find your website. Once they get there, you got to engage them somehow, and then what you want to do is get their contact information. I find that very few, if any, web developers know how to do this effectively, if at all. Some can give you a nicely designed website, and others know a little bit about SEO or quite a bit about SEO, and others know a little bit about each one. But your website ends up not being very effective in these three critical areas. You need a website that looks nice. You need a website that's relatively good in SEO. But also, I think, as I mentioned earlier, there's another method too. These people can help with a website, but you really need a skilled marketer to set up these areas properly. And I believe I'm that. Next, you need to find ways to draw people to your website. As I said, SEO can be good, but it needs to be set up properly. And you need to know what Google likes in order to ensure you have it prepared to suit your needs. So your SEO really revolves around Google, and their algorithms change consistently. Most web developers don't do a very good job of this. You also need effective, and so you need, I still think you need some SEO, and there are different ways to do it. I'm not going to go into that today, and we can talk about that. But you also need effective advertising to draw people to your website, and a lot of people don't use advertising. I really like Google AdWords as the best B2B advertising method. Google's going after a lot of B2C scammers and that, but yeah, you're not as a B2B marketer. You're there trying to do things, and Google AdWords is the best advertising method. It can deliver good qualified leads almost as soon as you go live. Usually within the first day or two, at least, at the longest, you'll get good qualified leads. However, again, you need to know how to do this correctly. You need to know how to set it up correctly. And too many companies waste their hard-earned dollars because they don't do it right. I talk to companies, oh yeah, I use Google AdWords, it doesn't work. Well, because they didn't set it up properly. It's like anything, you know. If you try and hang a shingle out in front of your place, and metaphorically speaking, you don't get customers because you haven't got the right shingle. You're not doing it properly. Google AdWords is great, and it can work. If you really want to give your company a revenue leap, then you need these three factors to do it effectively. You need a systematic referral system. You need an effective website with everything we talked about, and the right advertising campaign, which I believe right now is Google AdWords. You can try Facebook, but I don't know how effective that is in B2B, and there are other things you can do. But I think Google AdWords is the best one for you. So what I want you to do, one of two things, or both of them. Download my white paper on what websites need to have in order to help you deliver good leads, and that's to the right of my website. Or please contact me through either of the listings below, and let's chat about what you have, what your issues are. If you want a revenue leap, you've got too much too much of your business relying on 1, 2, or 3 accounts, or even you now realize that you've got to get new leads. The way the economic situation is, the world in the U.S. and Canada and particularly in Europe, you've got to get a lead generation process and system in place. So contact me at either that phone number or through my email, and I look forward to talking to you about how I can help you build your business with a revenue leap through better lead generation. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.